Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Community Focus here in Nelson County. I'm Kenny Fogel, your host. Glad you could join us tonight. We're going to talk about Bardstown City Schools with Superintendent Brent Holsclaw. And first of all, Brent, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's always good to have you here. Today we're going to talk about the good news and the good news. Exactly. Like what I've been hearing about out of Bardstown City Schools, things have been going pretty well for you lately.
It really has. It's been a great year for the Bardstown City School family. We've experienced many positive things. Most recently, this year, we opened our STEAM Academy, and I know you've heard a little bit about that.
A little bit.
We've been really pleased to be able to have this program. It was part of a 3-year program. The 4th year was to look at maybe doing something a little bit more. And so we've been able to reach 3-year-olds all the way up to the senior year. And we do that through our advanced placement classes in the high school, and then also we have pullouts during the day for students in middle school and 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Then we have extended programs where we reach out on certain days of the week to our other students. And so it's one of only a few in the state of Kentucky, maybe the only one that we know about that reaches all the way from 3-year-old to senior year. So
how do you come up with something like that? Is that something you just brainchild, a bunch of people get together, you still open another school district? Where do you come up with plans like this?
Actually, everything you mentioned is part of it. That's exactly what we did. First we had the idea, the think tank, the group that came together, and how are we going to continue to be innovative in the Bardstown City School System. We like to be known for that. There are some firsts that we have that we're really proud of, and so we continue to try to do that. Next, we found 2 school systems, one in Glasgow, Kentucky, and the other in Warren County. And they had academy programs. Now their academies are only like for middle school kids or certain segments. They're not as wide as ours, but we modeled ours the first 3 years after theirs, where we just went after about 3 or 4 grades. And then the next logical step was to move forward. Our foundation has been, the Bardstown Foundation for Excellence has been a huge supporter, which obviously we should say that our community has been a huge supporter because they support that program. And they helped us with some startup funds, and then we get the thing going, and the idea gets in place. We look at what kind of obstacles we might have, and that's what we're really good at, is finding ways to get around those obstacles. And instead of saying how can we not do this, let's find.
Well, that's my next question. How do you get people to buy into this? I mean, I'm sure there's a few naysayers say, "Oh, it's not going to work" or something. But you got to get people to buy into it. And how do you do that?
Well, certain ideas you really do have to do a lot of legwork. The main thing is that you inform people along the way. The worst thing you can do, and I know you've served on a lot of committees, you know how this works, you have a group that's working very hard and they're working, then they bring it up and they get ready to present it. Someone who has not had any involvement in it at all suddenly has maybe a really good idea. And it's like, well, that would have been handy back here. So that's the key to it, is to really bring people with you, bring them along.
Well, it's great to have programs like that. But what do you see as the outcome, as the results? Have you seen the visible results as of yet?
Well, no, we won't see those right away. Of course, we just started in August with this program, but the whole world, STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. These are the jobs of the future. We don't know, let me rephrase that, we don't know what the jobs of the future are. What we're preparing for are things that they're not even being created yet. So the more we can immerse our students that are prepared for this into this type of program, the better prepared they're going to be.
Well, I know, just like students, you all get a report card yourselves every year, and you get some kind of somebody coming down and checking on you, saying you're doing this right, doing that right. And lately you've gotten several pretty good reports on some things.
We have received some good reports, and I want to tell you about those. But before we go there, I want to tell you about one more great program that we're able to kick off this year, and that's our on-campus health clinic.
Well, I was going to get to that later, but let's get to it now.
I think we've talked about that a little bit on this show before, maybe with another guest, but it has been such a success. And just very quickly give you an idea of how the thing works. It used to be that a child would come to the nurse's office, and we've been very fortunate to have nurses in our school, and we still have those nurses, and they still have the same function. But they would come and perhaps there would be maybe looking at an ear, it would be red. They would send you then to your doctor. And at that point, you would check out of school and most likely be gone for the rest of the day. Whether you were ill or not ill, you'd be gone. Then we try to get you back the next day, and we're worried about getting notes, make sure it was an excused absence, and,
Yeah.
and all those things that schools have to do and parents have to do. Now, when you go to that nurse's office, they do the same thing. They can send you over if your parents want for that child. If they want to send their child to the clinic, then they can just go right next door. It's right there, all in the same facility. They can see a nurse practitioner. We've had 419 students visit the health, not the nurse's office. There's a lot more to the nurse's office, but to the health clinic. 419 students up to November the 8th, and 65% of those have gone back to class. So they didn't need to go to a doctor.
Well,
so,
you do have results there then.
Exactly, and we're going to tell you, the reason I want to tell you about this first is how do we get those good results that you're talking about?
Yeah.
And the number one thing is you got to have a child in school.
Yeah.
We've got to get them to come to school. This is a way we can get them there and keep them there. So it's a very positive program. It's not only good for the educational practice, which is first and foremost, but it's also extremely convenient for those parents who want to take advantage
Well, I was
of
going
it.
to say, you know, I'm sure parents are probably very appreciative of this. I mean, all of a sudden now they've got medical care right there of some sort that may not have had before right there at the school.
And it is the medical care. It's also, imagine if you're working in Louisville,
Yeah.
you're a single parent, you've got to leave your job, go pick them up. Man, this has really been good for them. So some other things, talking about scores and what kind of benefits do we get from great programs like that. It all comes back to taking care of the whole child. That's what we're all about. It's not just an academic piece in this day and age. So we're looking at kindergarten readiness scores. And though anyone that's seen the news recently has seen that the state has work to do in that area. And we did receive our scores just like everyone else did recently. And all of our students, when you just measure every student that's in kindergarten, 65% of them are ready for kindergarten. That's every student that attends kindergarten for us. We like to take this back one more notch. The state average, by the way, is 49.5%. So that's not a bad number.
Yeah.
But when you go back and you look at just the 4-year-olds that went to the Bardstown Early Childhood Education Center, just those 4-year-olds, we're at 73%, 73.7%, and the state average is 49. So we're just really excited about the progress that we're being able to make in this area. Obviously, if we can start with these children at a very young age, my goodness, it just gives you such a
So
head
the
start.
early childhood development program, I mean, exactly, you have to reach out to people to get them to interested in that, or is it hard to get people to sign up for it? What are you doing?
I think there was a time that it's that way, but I think now parents are informed that at 3-year-olds, there's probably a program they need to get involved in. We were the only 3-year-old program in the county for a while. We were certainly the first 4-year-old in the state back when we first started this. At that time, that was kind of an issue.
Yeah.
Now, both the city school and the county school system have done excellent work in preparing early childhood. They have a new facility that they're adding on to their facility, doing a lot of great work. So I think the more children in our community that we're able to get into the early childhood program, it's going to be a more successful time for them. And in the end, if they're more successful in high school, they leave and they're college and career ready, it's going to be more productive citizens in our community.
Absolutely, and I've heard many times if you can catch a child with a 3rd grade, you pretty much got them the rest of the way. So you're working in the right direction anyway.
Well, then one other thing to share with you, we participate in what used to be called the SACS, Southern Association of Colleges. We voluntarily put ourselves through this process. It has changed its name now to Advanced Ed, much the same program. They focus on how you teach students, how students learn, and that's the primary focus. And we're really, really pleased. It's 2 years we've been in the process, 18 months of hard work of preparing for what they call the external visit. We put together 28,000 pieces of evidence were involved in this process. We were very pleased when this accreditation team leaves. There are some local, meaning Kentucky people involved. One of them was from Arkansas. The lead evaluator was from Minnesota. There are 65,000 school districts on just a rough number that put themselves out there for this process. Again, you don't have to do it, about 1/5 of them are evaluated every year. And our accreditation scores, we exceeded the national average in every single one of those categories. So we were just really tickled to
Now,
get
why
that
would,
accreditation.
just to step back just one second, you said it's voluntary. Why would you want to do it? Is this something that gives you a little more feedback as to you're doing something right? Or does it help the child get into a college? What all does it do? What does it do for the school system?
Well, being an accredited institution certainly has some value to it when you compare it to other school systems and things of that nature. That's the first thing. But the main thing is that we feel like since 2011, when Senate Bill 1, that's about when Advanced Ed changed their name and changed their direction. Their direction is now more focused on how students learn in your school system. Well, we've been working very hard in that area.
Yeah.
And we've tried to make some changes. We've adapting to the system. We're adapting to how students learn, how we're trying to teach them, how the state wants us to move in that direction. And this pretty much meshes it. So if that were the situation, why wouldn't we want a third party to take an unbiased look at us and be able to tell us just what you said? Are we on track? Are we doing what we want to do? And we've done nothing but validate that we're certainly on the right track.
Obviously, the public school system in Bardstown, you seem pretty excited about it, and it's going in the right direction. So I know if we can get the rest of the state to be as good as what Bardstown's done, we'd probably be moving up quite a bit. I don't want to knock the rest of it.
You're putting a lot of pressure on us.
Well, I think it's well deserved because I think you're setting the standard for a lot of people.
We do appreciate it, and right along in that vein, that line of talk there, we talk about how does the state measure us, and they have an accountability system on how your students learn. And you can be a school that's novice, you can be a school that's progressing, a school that needs improvement, you can be a proficient school.
It could actually be in decline, but
yeah, well, decline is the needs improvement and so forth, and then you can it does get worse. There are levels of degrees down there where they come in and take over, and then at the top of the scale, proficient is where everyone definitely wants to be. We had our eyes set on that. We were so pleased. We exceeded proficient. We moved all the way to distinguished. There is one sliver of school districts above the distinguished category, and that's called a school of distinction. And they're at the top 95 percentile of all schools in the state. We missed it by 0.4. So we were tickled to death to be distinguished. And what does that mean, really?
That ought to mean a lot of things to a lot of the parents out there who send their kids to the school system. It ought to tell them something.
I think so. And what it is we have a group of teachers who have embraced this, what we know as Senate Bill 1, and the way when we made the major change on how we were going to be tested. And we certainly have embraced that. And the results, it has taken a while to do that. When we look back to 2011, 2012, our elementary, middle, and high school, those are the accountability areas, and all three of them increased their scores 21 points on an average in those.
Are the kids getting smarter, or are you just teaching smarter? What do you attribute most of that to?
That's really a good question, and I think that's a question we ought to ask ourselves all the time. Hopefully it's how we're teaching. I think kids are kids, and they're who they are and who they have been. But it's how do we approach them? And one good example is technology. If we're going to still continue to teach the way that you and I learn, and a child's mind is now completely focused on some sort of handheld device, and we don't involve that device in the teaching process, then we're really missing an opportunity. So there are things that we need to adapt and adjust. I think it's like any other business in the world. If you don't adapt, you get left behind. And I think in the teaching business, that's something that we've tried very hard to do, is to keep up and teach kids the way they learn. The focus used to be when we had what we call professional learning groups, learning communities, PLCs. We would go into those talking about how we taught. Our focus now has shifted from not how we teach, it's how do they learn? How do students learn? That seems just like a few words that you just switch around. It's a major paradigm shift when you start looking at it.
Well, like I said, you missed about 0.4, so that gives you a goal for next year, obviously. If you don't want to do everything this year, you got to at least leave something for next year's teachers to do. So again, it sounds to me like everything's going in a pretty good direction there in Bardstown, if not already there.
It really is. We're it's a good time to be in our school system. We're very pleased to be where we are and be able to accomplish what we've accomplished. And that doesn't just happen. We've got 5 excellent board members that stand behind us, support us, give us the resources that we need, and then we have a staff that is coachable, adaptable, and works with us and allows us to lead them in the proper direction.
Well, and when you mention that too, is the community, because the community, people say, where does my tax money go and how does it pay off? Well, right now you're showing them. You're showing that if you fund a system, if you do it the right way, that it does pay off, and it pays off, and you can't find a better investment in the future than your kids. I mean, kids or grandkids. So I'd be very pleased to know that if my child was going to Bardstown right now.
Yeah, and of course that's the culminating event of what we do in education. We always just kind of think of it being a diploma. No, really what it is where do they go? What do they do after they leave our high schools? Do they go on and get more training in other areas? And then most importantly, do they come back to our community and be a part of our workforce? And that's certainly something that's important to us. So, I mean, our vision has extended way past that diploma,
right,
where maybe one time it didn't.
Well, it's like you mentioned at the very beginning of the interview when you're talking about the STEAM Academy or whatever. It's you're trying to predict a little bit. It's almost a crystal ball is what the jobs are going to be 15, 20 years from now. But you've got to prepare in such a balanced, general way that you don't know what they're going to be, but you have to pretty much guess what they're going to be. And technology is still going to be in the future.
That's true. And that's true. And one other thing along those lines is not only do we not know what the jobs are, but we're not competing with the people in Nelson County, Spencer County, and Marion County, and Washington County anymore. Right. It's a global economy where we're competing across the world. So,
and when we do this, it's also an incentive for industry, because I know I've heard industry say they would like to come to Bardstown and Nelson County area, but they don't have the resources of people that are trained in certain areas. So that's a task that really falls on your shoulders. I know it's a lot to put on the school system, but you've got to produce the child of the future that's going to produce the business of the future.
Exactly.
So
and that's putting it all together.
Putting it all together, and like I said, it seems to be like what you're doing. You must be doing something right.
Well, we appreciate it.
Is there anything else we need to let everybody know before we get out of here, or pretty much?
I think we've said about what we need to say today, and we do appreciate the community support, and we appreciate the opportunity to come and be able to speak to the community through this method, and look forward to coming back sometime soon.
Well, absolutely, because that's one of the reasons I like to do these shows like this, to reassure people, what's going good, because we hear a lot of things, what's going bad in the area, what's going bad in whether it's education, whether it's anything, we always hear the bad stuff. But I think occasionally we got to hear the good stuff and what's going on, because this is our future. And if this is going on well today, just think 10 years from now how much better it's going to be then. So Brent, we do appreciate you all you're doing, and all the teachers and all the staff you've got working with you there at Bardstown City Schools. It's obviously we're doing something right, and we're darn proud of it.
Thank you so much.
Right. Well, thank you very much. Brent Holtzclaw, Superintendent of the Bardstown City Schools, here with us today to update us a little bit on what's going on in your child, grandchild's, future child's education. And again, it looks like things are going well, and hopefully all feeling a little bit good about that. So thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll be back with more Community Focus in just a few minutes here on Channel 6 TV.